Okay, welcome everybody. It's 11:34 a.m. and we'll officially call this meeting to order on August 18th, 2025, 11:34. Ellen, did you have an icebreaker for us?
Yes, I do. Um, Actually, it's great that Alexis mentioned being so excited about the weather and fall because the icebreaker is to say what you're really looking forward to as the summer is winding up. And I can go ahead and begin. Ellen Bell and coordinator for the commission. And I am very much looking forward to the weather changing. I'm not a heat person or a summer person. I like fall and winter. And so just the cool mornings are really exciting me and making me feel a whole new burst of energy. So I'm very excited about that. And I'll pass it on over to Casey.
Hey everybody, Casey Dreer, Commissioner. I am very excited for fall because I am, partially why I went to U of O was I'm a huge Ducks fan, so I'm ready for football. And my daughter is she's 5 years old, just turned five, and she's going to be cheering at halftime. And so on the field. So I'm very excited, looking forward to that in 2 weeks. Yep. Let's go next person on my screen, Alexis.
You stole my answer. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexis Amarelli. I use she, her pronouns. I am the foster care ombudsman with the Governor's Advocacy Office. I am here as a guest. I am a non-voting member in this meeting. I am so excited for college football. I am a huge Oregon Ducks fan, as well as the Ohio Buckeyes. And last year it was really complicated liking both of those teams because they went against each other. But I am just so looking forward to it. Having little finger foods and starting the morning with loud football. I'm like really looking forward to it. And I'll pass it to Donna.
Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Haney. I'm the assistant manager in the foster care program for DHS, and I use she, her pronouns. And I love summer. I really, really love summer. But I'll go along with Casey and Alexis. We are a big college football fans in our house, and I'm struggling a little bit with Alexis, like Ohio State and Oregon, like that doesn't resonate well with me. But I also went to Oregon State University and the University of Oregon, so I guess I can relate a little. So, yay for football. Sad for shorter days and cooler temperatures. And I'll go to Jesse.
Hello, Jesse Powell here, Commissioner. I think the salmon fall run is what I look most forward to in the next season. It's one of the best runs there is around here for the salmon is during the fall. So, yeah. And I will pass it to Alicia.
Good morning, afternoonish. My name's Alicia Richard. I'm one of the commissioners. I'm going to be taking notes today. What am I looking forward to? Hoodies. Just looking forward to hoodies. And just put it out there. And I do like the rain a little bit, but then I hate it after a while. So, how about Pamela?
Hi there, Pamela Heisler. I'm guessing that we're talking about what we're looking forward to in fall. I love like the fall festivals, the cider, the roasted corn, the cider donuts, taking the kids to ride the ponies and the little hay rides, and so fall is really fun with little kids. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, and I have no idea who hasn't gone.
Matt, Alex, and Janine.
Okay, I will call on Alex.
Hey, good morning. My name is Alex Island. I use she, her pronouns. Like Donna, I also love the summer a lot, and am not looking forward to the fall as much as it sounds like everyone else, but Yeah, I don't know. I got my dream trench coat last year I found for like $10 and I'm very excited to wear to wear that again. I don't have much else. Um, let's see who is next. Matt?
Hi, Matt Kroll, Commissioner. I'm looking forward to high school football. It's my son's senior year, and I'm excited to watch him play football for the last time in high school. I think Janine's the only one left.
Yeah, it's let me see. Janine Stice at Senate Republican office, and I follow the policy on human services. So we're just trying to get more interest in the interim on what's happening at the different commissions. So I appreciate joining the meeting. Thank you.
Did you tell me your last name again, Janine?
Yeah, it's Stice. It's Stice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And
Okay, so
oh, okay. I just didn't quite get everything she said, but we can
it was kind of hard to hear her, but
could you repeat, Janine, so we get it, we know.
Yeah, I joined the Senate Republican office over at the legislature, and I'm over the human services, healthcare, and education policy work. So we're trying in the interim just to be in, attend the meetings that are happening and get a better understanding of what's happening with the committee work, so we're better informed on, the policy decisions that come up in the session.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
okay. All right, so at this point, we're going to hold off on approval of the July minutes because we're one commissioner short. I think we are expecting Dee in today.
Dean.
So if you,
Yeah, I haven't heard back, so not sure. Usually he's pretty good about letting me know if he cannot be here. But we know Malik is traveling and so is Judge Jaco. So we do have three that we don't have with us right now.
so we'll hold off on the approval of the July minutes. Just as a quick overview of what's going to be happening today, the majority of everything else was going to be kind of an update meeting. So report, we were going to talk about the education work group update. I know several members, several of you were also joining on that, that Catherine has been working on. We did send the DRO letter off with our recommendations off to the governor's office. So we'll hear what they have to say about that. Ellen's going to talk a little bit about work with the government accountability or governor's accountability office and a webpage update that came out of a meeting with her and Alexis actually. Um, Rolanda, I don't see her yet, but she should be here to talk about, give us a leadership team update from DHS. And then the majority of this meeting, we want to focus on really planning out our in-person meeting, our retreat. We have a lot of new commissioners, and when Malik and I were meeting as we were kind of transitioning in, what we want to make sure to do is make sure everybody's heard on this commission. When you all come on, you all have kind of, reasons that you're coming on this commission. For me, largely it was interest in, youth outcomes, educational outcomes, things like that. And, we really transitioned to do a lot of work around that over the last year, 2 years. But what we want to do is make sure everybody's heard. And so at the end of this meeting, we'll be talking about the yearly in-person retreat and what people want to see at that. And I think certainly one thing that we'll have at that is similar to last year where we have an issue brainstorming session so that, everybody can be heard there. So we'll go back to the beginning here for the education work group update. And I think I pulled it up, but let me see here. I actually may have lost it, but I can pull it back up. One sec. Apologies.
And we have a meeting tomorrow, I believe, on with
That's
Catherine.
correct. So we did set that meeting. So it's a monthly meeting, and I believe it's every month after this meeting. So it's the third Tuesday of every month, and it's at 11 a.m. So if people can want to attend it or can attend it, we can share that link as well. Okay, the update I wanted to give was we all met as a educational work group last month, and really what came out of that was how do we push forward the educational recommendations that this commission made last year or this year? And part of that, if the commissioners all remember the discussions we've had in the recommendations, some of them required major changes, legislative changes. Some of them were statutory changes. Some of them were administrative changes. Some of them were just policy changes. And so as we get rolling out, what's our one thing that we were asking is what's our role on that? Are we just sending in these to the governor? Are we monitoring the progress on it? Are we actively, lobbying the legislature? So all of these were kind of in discussion of like, where is our role as the commission? Just highlighting them or whatnot. But one thing that came out of that was, let's start with the things that we can do quickly. And Catherine Seltzer sent out an email to, it looks like members of the educational committee, and really just one thing that they were able to do was expand their definition of role of the students team. And so one of our recommendations last year was to ensure that if the Oregon or Department of Education, if the schools were going to have a disciplinary meeting with a youth in care, we wanted DHS and their attorney to be present. If parents aren't in the picture for whatever reason, ensuring that they had somebody there advocating for them, because the worst scenario is, a teenager comes into care and then acts out a bit and then gets suspended from school. And then, where are we from there? And so the educational guidance that she sent out was essentially saying schools will generally communicate directly with the parent or person acting as the parent for the student, but the ODHS caseworker can request that the parent or person acting as the parent add them to notifications relating to special education and other important meetings. And it can be beneficial to have members of the students' teams invited to meetings related to the student, specifically referring to three things: special education and IEP team meetings, disciplinary meetings and hearings, and then actually one that I don't know what it means, if anybody wants to jump in, is manifestation determination meetings. And so I just wanted to highlight that because I think, it's great to see ODHS taking some simple steps that they can do to add it in their policies. And so it's great to see kind of the recommendations that we've made start to gain traction. Any thoughts on that?
Casey, can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
What were you just reading off of? I think I missed what you're reading.
Sorry, that was just an email. It was an
Oh,
email
okay.
from Catherine to the members of the educational committee, I believe.
Oh,
So
okay. I was just curious about the language. I wasn't sure if there's like anything in there for the youth to be able to choose if they want their caseworker there or if they want their attorney there.
no,
Okay, so it would be like kind of required that they would be in attendance.
I am unsure. I'd have to talk to Catherine about how they interpret
Okay.
that. Let me just
Thank
kind
you.
of put it into the chat and see if hopefully this doesn't format terribly. Oh, and it's too big, so let me add the last little bit. There we go. So if you want, you can read it. It's in there. Um, any other thoughts on the educational work group? Certainly, everybody's invited tomorrow at 11 a.m. As we continue to discuss the educational recommendations that we made.
If you are interested in attending, let me know today. Last meeting, we had two commissioners and the majority of people were from, and we had one visitor who's a commissioner applicant, who we'll find out about in this next round. And it was mainly, and we had ODE folks. So, that meeting was not a full, like we didn't have a full group. So this one will be noticed and put on the website, and we'll probably just make sure so that if we have more than two commissioners there, we definitely have to have that. So I'll put it on the public website. But just so you know, let me know if you want to attend. This also is because it's going to be the second meeting. We are hoping to look at Catherine's guidance that she's just finished. I think there were some things she hoped to have it out to the committee members before, but I think it's not quite ready. So I think that's what she said in that email as well as Casey. So yeah, just let me know so we can make sure that we get the meeting properly noticed.
And then just really quickly, as briefly noted, as we were going over the agenda, we did send off the letter to the governor's office. So we're waiting, feedback on that. But the next section is talking about work with the GAO and webpage update, and I'll let Ellen take that over.
Okay. Yes, with the governor's advocacy office, Alexis and I met and really excited about her attending this meeting on a regular basis. And I'll let you say a few things about that, Alexis. Maybe you could say that now and then I'll talk about the webpage.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Yeah, so I've attended this meeting pretty regularly, but not every single meeting by any means. I've been, since I've been in this position for a little over a year now, I've been really a part of various types of committees. And one of the coolest parts of having a new director come into the governor's advocacy office is that we were able to really sit down and look at all the different meetings that I was going to. And we were able to really identify what is an opportunity for the entire governor's advocacy office to participate, whereas something that was more specific to youth experiencing foster care. So I was, able to stay a part of this group, and I hope that, with being able to step away from other committees that I was participating in, I can be a consistent participant. I'm not a voting member, but I'd love to represent any sort of youth voice that I might have. I operate a youth empowerment and safety line, so I'm talking to youth pretty regularly that are experiencing foster care. And I look forward to hopefully bringing some of that perspective into this group. Very open for any conversations if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about the foster care ombudsman position or the office as a whole. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alexis. And one of the very cool things, if most everybody might remember from the 2024 recommendations, one of the recommendations was about the recommendations from the ombuds being more public as they are in other states. And that is going to be happening, correct, Alexis?
That is what I was told I would say probably about 2 weeks ago by our director, is that is really what the hope is the movement towards making the recommendations, the formal recommendations from ombuds, not just myself, but also the rest of the team within the governor's advocacy office. They fulfill the role of the children's advocate. So our office, I feel like it's kind of confusing in a lot of ways because there's the duties and the responsibilities of the children's advocate, and then there's the foster care ombudsman, and they're very separate things, very important things, different perspectives and different lenses. So those recommendations from both areas will hopefully be public very soon.
That's great. And then also, generally, you had a report that you were bringing to a committee that's not going to be happening anymore, and you're going to be bringing that report to the commission, which I think will be awesome. So we'll put you on the agenda quarterly so that you can present those findings from you.
Sure, yeah, that sounds wonderful, Ellen. And the different quarterly reports there are all posted publicly so that you'll be able to review those. So I am very happy to answer any questions or any feedback that anyone on the commission might have for how those reports can better serve youth experiencing foster care. Especially, Casey, I heard you talk about outcomes for youth. That is a huge passion for me. I'm talking to youth regularly that are aging out of the foster care system and they're not quite sure what to do. And there's an all-day ILP meeting that I'm going to be going to in October, and I'm regularly trying to find ways that I can better outcomes for youth that are experiencing foster care. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. And so what we discussed is a couple of things had been going on, like when we've had people attend this meeting and bring issues, or oftentimes I get calls or emails from people who found my email on the website, and they reach out and maybe they have specific issues with the district or some issues surrounding foster care. And I refer them on to Alexis, and then oftentimes they circle back and thank me, but it's been a really good, we've been able to kind of work together to make sure that people who are struggling with something or maybe don't know where to go, usually, I think the majority have been grandparents, which is really interesting. So having them connect with Alexis and then get with the proper ombuds for them has been really, really, I feel like vital and a good communication tool for us within the agency. And just as a commission, I feel like it's a way of kind of providing some more information to you all from, around this issue and how we're coordinating, because I think it's good that people feel that the commission itself is somebody that will hear any issues that they have. So I think that's fantastic. And I just wanted to make sure you were updated on some of these little things that happen behind the scenes and how important our relationship with the ombuds is becoming. The other thing is we thought about putting on our website, we just wanted some thought about it from commissioners, was a link or information on the ombuds. So if people are reaching out to the commission through me, that they're saying, because they're looking for answers, that we can direct them on that page to Alexis. Like if you have concerns about a child in foster care or an issue you may be experiencing, here's the ombuds, and having a little blurb of their information, just as a way to kind of minimize people having to run around and find information. So we'd love some feedback on that. And that was basically what this bullet point was about, was just to make sure that people were aware of that. And if you have any additional suggestions on how we can improve communication, I know that Alexis will welcome that as well.
Any
I
questions
just
or
put a, oh,
comments?
sorry.
I was just asking if there was any questions or comments. You go ahead.
I was just going to explain. I put the link to the governor's advocacy office in the chat. If you want to check it out, I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the office. It's a pretty unique office, and the things that we do are pretty unique. So I highly recommend you check out the webpage and reach out if you have any questions.
And any other thoughts on our communication with or what we do on the website or the webpage?
No, I think that's a great idea. I'm glad that we're looking at just a closer partnership and crossover between us. So very cool. Thank you, Alexis.
And I agree. I think, in general, making the recommendations that comes from Alexis' office more transparent is a good thing. I think streamlining access to her office, whether, posting it on our webpage, if that helps, get out the word for her, I think that's great too. I've had a lot of, in my experience as a juvenile attorney, I talk to a lot of resource parents or parents. I'm not their attorney. They have a lot of complaints, and I tell them to call her. I'm glad she exists. And thank you for your work. So, any other comments on that before we move to the ELT updates? And then I'm actually going to say, Ellen, I don't see Rolanda unless I'm just not seeing her.
Let me, I'm going to turn my camera off and send a message over there. She had said she'd be here by noon.
This is Jesse. I got a comment. I was just looking at the link that Alex sent, and I like it. There's a couple different areas with information, forms, just directional pathways to get their needs met, and I think it'd be amazing. So yeah.
Okay. So we'll give Ellen a minute here. She's reaching out to Rolanda. But as we're prepping that, be thinking about as we move in after this section into the yearly in-person planning meeting, be thinking about things that you want to see about that, because this is going to be your chance to give the input before, Ellen and I get to work on inviting speakers and whatnot, and planning the agenda. So if you've got ideas on agenda items, if you've got ideas on issues, if you've got ideas on speakers, be brainstorming those because we're going to go over those soon.
Casey, I know I missed, God, did I miss the last two meetings? I've been on vacations. Was Rolanda at any of our last meetings, or is this her first one?
Well, so when the agenda came out, I asked Ellen, I was like, I'm not familiar with that name. And so I believe she's
New.
new.
She is
Yeah.
new,
And
yeah.
so,
I just,
summer is difficult for the commission, as we've all seen, because people are taking vacations and because quorum is what it is and limited, waiting for people to be confirmed onto the commission. It's been difficult for us to get quorum this month. I think we canceled one of our meetings. Was that last month or 2 months? 2 months ago, I
no, I
think.
have July minutes, I think, so
Yeah,
probably,
so it must have been June.
yeah. Okay. Well, it might be helpful, I don't know, just so she knows kind of the crowd that she's talking to know. I mean, maybe for us to introduce ourselves, or maybe
Yeah.
not. She might see on the webpage who we all are too, because we did blurbs, didn't we?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I think it's just our names
Okay. Yeah, we
and
want
maybe our
kind of,
organization.
yeah, that's true.
And remind me, is she the interim director or is she full now? Donna, I saw you shake your head. She's
Yeah,
interim.
she's the interim.
Okay.
I believe that's her title at the moment anyway. And she's been in child welfare for a super, super long time. She was the DM. She's been a DM, she's been a PM, she's been in central office. She's long history with Oregon Child Welfare.
Yeah, I think she came from Washington County, is that right, Donna?
Most recently, yeah. She also has experience with SSP. So.
Yep. Yes.
I sent Jessica Glasscock a message, and her light is yellow, so she hasn't gotten back to me. So I sent something to Rolanda directly, and we'll see. I did receive an email from her and she said she would be attending, so maybe something's come up.
Could
Well,
I?
maybe
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to throw out for folks. We may, hopefully, we'll be having some rule advisory commissions coming up. Not hopefully, we will be having some rule advisory committees and coming up, and I'll send them to Ellen. Anybody is welcome. And they'll be around criminal background checks.
Hey, sorry, I didn't have it on my calendar.
Glad you're
So,
here.
For the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who are in our custody, and we really want feedback on that. It's not coming from the department. It was a statute that was passed, and so we're trying to be in compliance with that. And then also some recommendations for the foster. I'm going to use this term because this is a title. I wouldn't typically say foster child, but foster child bill of rights and foster sibling child bill of rights. Some changes to that based on some a statute that was actually, a bill that was actually vetoed for other reasons. I think it was talked about last month. So we'll be making those draft changes, and Michelle Pfeiffer has already sent out to some community folks those changes, but they really were just what was contained in the bill that the department can change. We can't put into, we can't control if a child gets an attorney. That was one of the recommended things, and we would 100% support that, but we don't. The department doesn't appoint attorneys, so we can't really put that in our rules, or who should be. There was a recommendation, again, which we would support, about a child who, like when a child's interviewed by law enforcement, allowing that child to have an individual with them. And it's not in our draft right now because, again, the department doesn't really control what law enforcement does. If it was statutory, it would be different. So I just didn't want folks to think that DHS is like, no, we don't think kids should have attorneys, or that supported people shouldn't be with law enforcement when they're interviewed. It's just that our OAR doesn't, we don't have any legal authority to tell law enforcement what to do, or JSIP or courts what to do. That's why those aren't in our draft of our rules, but they'll be Rural Advisory Commissions. Anybody's welcome. And if you can't make the date, you can always provide feedback outside of the actual meeting. So I think this is a great group to get some feedback, especially on the background check piece.
What are the dates? Were those sent out?
No, they have not been set out yet. They had the dates of the racks have not been scheduled by our policy team yet.
Okay, well, I'm very interested, of course.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Thank you.
I am also interested in that.
Well, I'll send it to Ellen and she'll send it out to the commission. So you all get that once I get it from the policy team.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so do you guys have like the authority to forward like those recommendations for that to law enforcement, to like the Attorney General's office and other law enforcement departments and stuff like that?
The
To
recommendations.
forward those recommendations.
So there was a bill that I'm pretty sure it went to all of those parties. It also contained some other aspects that had some legal ramifications and was vetoed, but we're trying to put in everything we can put in that was a part of that bill. I'm not sure, Dean, if I'm getting your question quite right. Responding to your question quite right.
Well, I mean, you said that like DHS has no authority to tell law enforcement or whatever, attorneys, representation, background, checks, that sort of thing. So I was curious if you guys had at least like forwarded like a department recommendation, or like it's someone to talk to those relevant departments in an effort to at least talk about it and see if they are willing to do it of their own volition.
Sure.
Or
I gotcha now. So yeah, our legislative folks like Michelle Pfeiffer has had those conversations with those various parties. So yeah.
All right then, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome, Deanne. Since you're here, I'd like to jump back real quick and I'd entertain a motion to approve the July 2025 minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Could you be the primary and then we'll have a second? I don't think as chair I make the motion. I think I'd entertain a motion from somebody and then get a second.
Gotcha. Yeah, that will be my motion then.
Okay. In a second?
I'll second.
I didn't hear who that was.
Pamela.
Pamela. Oh, thanks, Pamela. Okay, so we've got a motion in a second to approve the July 2025 minutes. Any discussion? Hearing or any changes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, great. Those are approved. Now we can continue to move on. Ellen, any update on this, or should we go ahead and jump into the yearly in-person planning meeting?
No, still a yellow light from Jessica, and Rolanda hasn't answered yet. So I would say we should probably just go ahead and jump forward. Also probably noting that Rachel isn't joining us today. She often joins us, but we try to have someone from the executive leadership team, usually Lacey speaks, but we invited Rolanda this time, or Rachel to speak at each of the meetings. So right now we don't have either of them, but it was the month for executive leadership team. So she may still join us, and if not, then we'll try to get her next month. And in the meantime, I think maybe we may even have Rachel again next month at the same time, so that we should probably just go ahead then and move over to talking about what we want to do with the in-person meeting, which is basically we have logistical details, and then we have oh, I think, Dean, did you have your hand up a second?
Yes, yes. Just a real quick question for you, since regarding the letter. So you got the updated draft that I sent, right?
Correct. Your changes were incorporated, and Casey has sent those off, has sent the letter.
Excellent. All right, thank you.
Yes. As far as the logistics for an in-person meeting, we just need to determine the month where we want to have this and kind of plan those parameters for it, as well as the content. So those are the two pieces. I'm assuming we're going to try to go with Salem, and probably the easiest thing to do is to use HSB in Salem like we did last year. And then we can figure out, we generally do lunch, so I'm sure we can do all of that again as well. But talking about what we want to focus on, and as Casey said, you know, if we can start getting some ideas today about what are the most important things on people's mind, some of the issues for this coming year ahead that we want to be looking at. And then one thing I'm not sure of this, and maybe Donna can answer it, is how, as these changes are happening with with the connection with self-sufficiency, how that might impact, or is that anything we need to be thinking about as we move into this, you know, having an in-person meeting? Like, is it still, can we still do that? Is that something that is still allowable and things like that?
So Ellen, do we have proposed dates that we think would work well for this, like either next month or a month out, because it's too quick next month?
Well, what we've done in the past, and is we've tried to make it at least 2 months out from the time we've said when it would be, so that we have time to get a planning group together. And I believe that for last year and the year before, Pamela and I think Alicia was on one of those planning groups one year, maybe 2 years ago. And I think last year it was just Pamela and Jessica and I worked on the putting together the plan. And, you know, getting everything together. But generally, once you say where you'd like to have it, and I'll start putting together, getting the menu and all that behind the scenes things taken care of. And then on the front end, we kind of decide how we want to gather information. Now, last year, we worked off of the recommendations. The year before, we kind of worked on all of those things that led up to the recommendations. So, because we were discussing a whole variety of things that eventually were put into the 2024 recommendations. So this year, I guess it depends on what commissioners want to see as a good focus for the year, and how we might want to take on each of those items. And as Casey was saying, it also helps determine who we need to have come speak to the commission, or how we need to get more information.
Dean, I see your comments. Does October 20th work? Because that's the typical date for the meeting. It would be difficult for me to clear, because I have court dates like 3 months out that I haven't blocked out. And so I was going to propose October 20th because it's our natural meeting date.
So that might work, but there's a caveat. I have a neighborhood meeting that day, which I also have, of course, today as well. And I might be a board member by next month, but I think I can maybe make that work. So
Would that work for other people? That seems like the natural day to do it, being it's 2 months out on our normal date.
I just need
Yeah,
to arrange like
I agree.
very fast transportation back to make it back in time at 7 for the 7 p.m. New Hazelwood meeting. So
I think if we don't do it in October, I think it gets difficult in November with the weather becoming a bit more unpredictable. I know we got people from Eastern Oregon and Southern Oregon now, so. Jesse, you said it worked for you.
Yes.
Cool. Any other thoughts on that date?
Matt or Alex? Um,
Right now, it looks like it works for me.
Alan, can we lock that up if there's no disagreement on that date?
And do you want me to maybe send this out so that we make sure that Judge Jaco and Malik are
Yeah, yeah, we'll send it out to them. I imagine Judge Jaco's going to have similar issues as me. Hopefully, yeah. I don't know how a judge gets a full day off. I don't know how that works, but I know that they can have Plan B judges come in, and I don't know how long they have to plan for that. So certainly we'll reach out to Malik and Judge Jaco, but ideally that would be a great day.
October 20th, right?
Before we jump into other things on this, I did want to just highlight my quick thoughts on it, which is, last year I feel like we were heavily proactive on almost everything. There was nothing that the governor's office was really asking us to review. We were kind of creating our own issues that we thought were important to improving outcomes for ODHS and outcomes for kids. This was an interesting legislative session because this commission, opposed some of what the governor was advocating for. And part of that, as we conveyed, is these issues weren't brought to us really until the start of the legislative session. And so part of the meeting with Rachel in the governor's office is, what role do you see us having on this? I mean, we're the governor's advisory commission. Are we proactive, just telling you what we think are the issues, or are you also letting us know what you're thinking and getting our thoughts? And certainly they want to get our thoughts on issues. One thing the follow-up question there was, so what are you thinking for next year? And I do want the commission to know that, the bill that died this year is certainly going to come back up. So it may be worthwhile taking a dive at that and saying, we did all this stuff to get rid of it. They want to bring it back. Is there some place we can meet in the middle? Because the explanation that they gave us, which I think their messaging on it has certainly improved, is that, well, they don't want to send kids out of state for care. They're trying to really limit this to kids that absolutely need the medical care, and we cannot provide in Oregon. And so they're forced then to say, well, I have to break the law either to send the kid out of state or deny medically necessary medical care. When they frame it like that, it's difficult, right? Because we don't want to open the floodgates, but we also have to acknowledge that at some point. And so I think it's a really thorny issue. So if we're, advising the governor's office, I think it makes sense to make some space to discuss the issues that they're bringing to us as well. And with that said, I certainly want a space to hear all of your issues as well, because I think that's a super important part of the commission as well, is to bring things to their minds that they're not currently thinking about as well. So, I already think that we've settled on the idea of having some sort of issue brainstorming session where we really, make sure everybody's heard and talking about their issues. But what are other things that people would like to see at this retreat?
oh sorry, Alicia.
Go first. You were first.
All right. Yeah. So regarding Casey, regarding your previous thing, because that, if I remember correctly, as a question, right? It's in regards to both that and this. Don't worry. the thing you're talking about, like the role of the commission regarding, advising the governor, do we want to meet in the middle, et cetera, is that was a question, correct? Just making sure.
Sure. Yeah, I think that we brought that up previously, and we had said we want to do both, right? We want to react to like what the governor is supporting. We want to push our own issues, but the difficulty that we were having was we weren't getting the issues until they were already crafted and ready for the legislative session. Part of that is now they've committed to kind of bringing us the issues that they want for next year and asking for us to think about those and give them our feedback.
Yeah. So, and that is so. Yeah, I understand that, and so that's sort of why I want to like speak about what I think the best role for the commission would be in this regard. Just in regards to like a general sort of thing, as someone who has not only run for office before but worked with politicians and the like, and of course serves on multiple advisory committees. I think that we should continue to be proactive and reactive. So I agree with you, Casey. I also think that we should be trying to be meeting not necessarily in the middle, but finding essentially what we can agree on with the governor and push and get that supported or oppose it. I think there's a gentle balance of push and pull that we need to do in order to be effective. I think the proper role of an elected official in that regard is to still set the agenda, but also have it set for feedback and for us to be able to also make some edits and changes to it as well in the sort of proactive like advice way that we've been doing it and that that we're just discussing right now. And of course, we should be reactive. Uh, I think that the role that we should take is not completely like rolling over, but it's also, of course, not completely fighting for every single thing or fighting for like trying to push fully our own agenda. I think focusing on specific items and trying to go for a push and pull negotiated approach while standing our ground on certain things is overall the best balance for the commission and how to work with political officials and our leaders here at the state of Oregon. That's my personal feeling from my experience with Portland Children's Levy earlier this year, which I think I might have brought up already, and regarding how they didn't seek our community advisory council's input regarding that before they just sent it back. And so I think that sort of, I wouldn't call a middle ground, but that sort of balance is what I think we need. And in regards to the second thing, I did post something in the chat, which I was quite interested in if anyone had more information on, since that could potentially be something that we should look at to make sure that these things are being done in a fair way. So just something that I came across.
And
Yeah, that's all.
do you want to just take a moment, Casey? Because I've noticed that Rolanda's joined us, and then we can jump back to Alicia and the topics, going back to the topics again and make sure we've captured everything Deanne had to say. But I want to welcome Rolanda because we've had some communication challenges, but thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I have to apologize to the group. I did not have this meeting on my calendar and I happened to be in another meeting, so I just jumped right in. I'm also on my phone because I have an in-person meeting. So I am glad that Ellen prompted me, and I'm happy to be with this group in this new role. If there's anything that's needed of me, please let me know. Again, I apologize. I'm on my phone.
But I think everybody's happy to meet you and turn it to Kate.
And welcome, Rolanda. Certainly understand you're driving this time. Basically every other month, as Ellen was explaining, 1 month we have an update from the governor's office, and another month we kind of focus on an update from ODHS. And so we'll have a chance to meet and kind of talk about the recommendations that we've made, but we love to hear about the changes that the agency is making, on those and issues that you need our feedback on.
And would the next meeting be then ODHS's turn? Because I did look at the agenda briefly that Ellen just sent, so we're prepared, and then would love to get your topics so that we can be fully prepared to speak to those.
Actually, the next meeting would be the governor's office again, because I'd gone through some of the talking points, but we've usually had Lacey here, and then I usually just work with Jessica and setting it up. And I know with you being new and there's so much going on. So maybe what we can do is just depending on what the commissioners want to do, but we could have both of you and divide the time. And maybe in the meantime, if there's anything you have to say today about maybe the neutral, what came out from the neutral, I think that was one of the things that we talked about, maybe being mentioned if there was anything for the future that the commission needed to think about, or just any updates there. We've done, they put forward some things that I'm trying to think of the topics that I'd given to Jessica, but mainly it's just things that just to kind of update on all the changes that are happening with self-sufficiency. It seems like there's so many different avenues of change occurring, and any of those things are great to update us on. And whether you can do it, if you don't have time today, we can certainly put it on calendar for next time.
So I just sent a message to Lacey to see if she can jump on to speak about the collaborative agreement. Just because I'm on my phone, I will forward. Ellen, do you mind sending that to her? For some reason, it's not on her calendar either. Since I'm on my phone, it's not very easy for me, but I'm happy to give just overall updates if you all don't mind. Is this the right time, or you want me to wait until you prompt me?
No, you're good.
Okay. So, as you all know, the agency's going through a redesign with the Human Services Group. I'll refer to them as HSG, to kind of bring in SSP and child welfare under the same leadership. And so, we're looking to really have a unified approach in how we do our work, to really establish a more concrete body for prevention. And so the model would have a preventative a part to it. It'll have prevention, which child welfare will fit under, and then it'll have an administrative function. And that's really sort of down the road. I think the key to all of this also is there's going to be a delivery infrastructure, which I think as an agency, we haven't really had a very clear delivery structure. So we're excited about that. Some of you may have heard from Sherelle Jackson, and I think she would be happy to come and do a presentation here around that UCF work with HSG. And so she will be in her interim role leading what delivery infrastructure will be like. And so that's going on right now. In addition, I stepped in June to really look at the work that we're doing in child welfare and narrow our scope around our initiative and really focus on what currently is at the forefront, which is our collaborative agreement that you all want to hear about. In addition to the collaborative agreement, we're also getting ready to report on our PIP, and also,
We may have lost Rolanda. She is driving, so.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, you're back. Okay, we lost you for a moment.
Okay, I apologize. And so there's a need for us to really focus on our safety initiative. And so we have been spending quite a bit of time identifying areas we really want to hone in on. And we have identified 4 areas that child welfare will be focusing on in terms of our safety initiative. And I don't know if this would be a good time for me to even talk about that. I mean, we have a PowerPoint. I just wish I knew I was presenting today. I think it would have been so much easier to do that. But really, where we're going to be focusing our energy on in terms of our safety is the front end around our, I'm actually trying to find that and it's not pulling up for me on my phone. So Ellen, do you think I can come back to this group?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No pressure at all. I mean, you can certainly come back and we can make sure that you're on for next month.
Well, Lacey,
I'm here.
Lacey,
Well,
My apologies. I don't know what happened. It wasn't on my calendar and I was busy making lunch and Rolanda was texting me. Nobody's here. So apologies.
they want to hear about the collaborative movement, Lacey. So I'm wondering if you can share that. And I also wanted to talk about our safety initiative. I just don't know that I could, off the top of my head, rattle that since I'm driving. And so if you can help.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we can get that set up for next month. I'll just work with Jessica and we'll make sure that you have everything you need. And we'll do
Perfect.
the initiative next month.
Perfect. Okay, I'm just getting my screen ready. There we go. Again, my apologies. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Lacey Andreessen. I'm usually on time. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm one of the deputy directors for child welfare. We have resolved, just to make sure. Can you see my screen? Yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I think as most of you are aware now, because we've talked about it quite a few times, we were sued in 2019 by DRO and A Better Childhood. We settled it in September of 2025 or 24, I mean. And then in March, our draft went to the neutral, and on the 29th of July, he produced his findings. So what this is his assessment of under what was covered in the lawsuit, areas that we need to focus on, and measures and outcomes for goals that we'll be continuing to reach for. And I'm going to go through it in the way that it's currently drafted. And then there's a few things that we're still working out, and I'll cover those at the end. The first 3 measures associated with ultimate outcomes are around maltreatment and care. The first is maltreatment and care for all children, and the second is excluding children on trial home visit. The reason why he broke it out that way is because we don't normally, most states, in fact, I don't think any other state uses trial home visit the way that we do. So our maltreatment and care data looks very different. We also assess third parties, and that's in the maltreatment and care data. Again, that's different than any other state. And the reason why the state to state comparison is important is that goal that you see, that outcome 9.07, is actually the national standard. And so we're going to continue to be reporting out those subgroups individually, because I think that the context for why maltreatment and care in Oregon is much higher is really important to understand those. The third measure is item 3 of the Child and Family Services review, and that's ongoing risk and safety assessment throughout the life of a case. And you can see again what our current baseline is and what the ultimate outcome measures are in the second category. Next is the rate of reentry into foster care. He set the ultimate outcome at 5.6. That does exclude children who left and reentered within 6 months. Most of these you're going to see, he'd like to see us reach the goal by 2028 and sustain it for 3 years. That's very lofty. So we will always be reporting on all the things that we're doing to try to get there, because he can also measure our level of effort as well. And then the next measure is timely case plans, a goal of 90%. Current baseline for May to April of 2025 was 76. So we're getting pretty close to that one. The next three are timely mental and medical health assessments. We have nurses that are on contract. They go and see children within 10 days of entering foster care. I think because we're just starting to measure this one, I anticipate this will be the first goal that we reach. We're very close to that already. The next two are much more complicated because it involves the partnership between the branch, the CCO, and then available providers. Some places in the state right now, there's not mental health providers or medical assessment providers for kids on OHP. Some places there's very, very long wait lists. So this is going to be one that's going to require a lot of partnership between the Oregon Health Authority, the local CCOs, and ODHS to attempt to get to these goals. A good thing is that the CCO contracts are being updated now, and I'm told that their timeline to get incentive pay is getting moved up to 30 days. So that's really going to give us an opportunity to really partner with them differently because, again, those two, measure 7 and 8, we cannot reach without a lot of collaboration with them, including more provider availability. The next area is appropriateness and quality of placement and services. These are the measures that he has chosen to assess the quality and appropriateness of services. Number 9 is a finding on the CFSR. Is the placement appropriate? And then 10, 11, again, this is the CFSR measure of physical health needs and mental health needs. I'm really grateful that these measures are in 2 different areas because that gives me more leverage to really push on our system around how timely kids are getting their needs met. And then the last is an item on the CFSR that's a needs assessments and services for children. You can see both on measures 9 and 12 that we're already doing really well with the baseline on those. This next one is maltreatment of notification of maltreatment in care. So we've got some statute and rule around when all parties in a child's case need to be notified, both of when an allegation is assigned and then of the disposition of those. He has proposed that we create a system within our information system to be able to track those, and that we do those all notifications within the statutory allotted amount of time, and we do that 90% of the time. This is one we'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide because this has some unknowns to it. And then the last measure proposed right now is just our reporting and how we're doing on the timely reporting of core strategies and efforts. The timeline is semi-annually until the termination of the case. So he's saying one of the measures that he'll look at is just that we're doing the reporting to him that we're supposed to be doing around all of these different areas of practice. Just looking at the chat to see what that was. So one of the things that Molly and Rolanda and I are really, really working on is many of you who've worked with us for a long time know that a lot of times we have a lot of different things going on, a lot of initiatives. We're working on a lot of different things at once. And we have these bodies of work that you see on the screen in this pie chart are all required of us. These are not things that we could just opt in or opt out of. They are all efforts that have outcomes that we're working toward, expectations that we're working toward, and we're really looking to align all of our strategies to improve the outcomes that are identified in each of these. So I'll give you one example. One thing that we're going to begin working with our workforce on starting in October, and we've started talking to them about this, is they're going to do in-time documentation of their activities. So both for CPS assessments and then ongoing work, as well as certification work, they will enter all of their work in the same day that they get it done. We did a mapping to figure out what we could do to shore up timely safety assessments. And this was a huge area that was identified. So we're going to talk about that in the program improvement plan. We're going to talk about that as a result of the safety initiative. We're going to report to the neutral that that's one of the efforts that we're making. So we're really trying to find interventions and activities that help push towards all of the outcomes that are required in each of these big bodies of work. For next steps, we're looking at feasibility. There's a couple places. The initial review itself is not subject to any kind of a escalation process for the judge to make decisions about, but the neutral's access to child-specific data is. So some of this is still just under consideration for which of these things are we going to say, yes, we're just going to live with that? Which is it, are we going to say, actually, no, we're going to utilize the escalation pathway to a mediator because we don't agree. The reporting timelines are pretty onerous right now. Some items are quarterly, some items are annually. Some of the quarterlies don't even line up. So we are creating a dashboard for Kevin and his team that will have almost all of these reporting items on it in real time all the time. Once we get that dashboard up and out, the requirements on quarterly reporting will be removed. Like I said, we're also talking about where he's asking for information to child specific cases and how we get that to him. Some of the stuff he's proposing around random sampling, we just need to continue to think through and figure out how we do that well. And then the goals you saw were very aspirational. Some of them are really, really high and asking for a huge amount of movement in a small amount of time. So just continuing to message to you all as well as to our staff that we are looking at both our progress in the data towards the ultimate outcome, and we're also looking at all of the things we're doing to try to get us there as an agency. And then the MIC notification and reporting, like I said, maltreatment in care, how he's proposing it, kind of the tool that he wants us to use. We just have to figure out feasibility of how that might go. And then we're trying to time all of this with our ongoing CFSR, and we've got to align the dates for that. So that's all of our work yet to come. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Hi, Lacey. This is Pamela.
Hi, Pamela.
Thanks for that overview. I had read the report that he put out, but question that I have is, you know, as someone who lived in the system and who works with many, many youth in the system, we know that the rates of abuse in foster care or maltreatment in foster care that are reported are very underreported.
Okay.
So I guess I'm just curious, maybe you get the numbers to drop, but does that really reflect what's happening in the system? Is there going to be any part of this where there's talking to former foster youth who are in the system, or it could be current foster youth or former foster youth just recently left the system? Will there be any kind of qualitative gathering of information to see if they're really seeing a trend go down?
Yep. That's a great question, Pamela. So fortunately, things have improved since you experienced foster care. Not to say that we definitely ever think we have it perfect. We have Alexis in her role now as someone that young people can reach out to. All kids are also represented by their attorney. Those are folks they can reach out to. And then in the CFSR process, when we're making the determinations about whether or not those things are improving, part of that is a qualitative query and information with the young person on that case if it's age appropriate. So I think that and then additionally, all the young people in the class are still represented by Disability Rights Oregon and Emily Cooper. So we've got some people built into the system now much differently than we did before. So there is opportunity, yes, for him to be saying, we can't just make magic numbers, right? And try to fix it in the numbers. It has to be that young people are experiencing the system differently.
Thanks, Lacey. That's helpful.
Yeah. Good question.
To piggyback off of Pam's comment, how is DHS going to provide access for these kids to actually make those reports? Some of these kids don't have access to reach out to their lawyer unless it's through the foster parent.
Yeah, it's a good question, Matt. A couple ways. One is we have the Bill of Rights that are posted in all homes now. Two is my expectation is that in there every other month, a caseworker has to see children on their caseload at least once a month. Every other month, that is to be in their resource parent or in the home where they're living, whoever that might be, their parent, their resource parent, CCA. And in that, there is a set of questions that we call confirming safe environments. But caseworkers should know how to interview their children, how to interview their children when they're not in the presence of their resource parent. So, there's a couple different ways, again, that we're building in, making sure that they have access to people who can help if there is something happening that they don't want to talk about with the resource parent. And I would appreciate the partnership of children's attorneys in this state for them to also be proactively checking in with their kids, making sure that they're raising concerns if they hear something from them. Those tend to be the people that kids trust the most.
Okay. So there's an audit system in place to keep track of those meetings?
Yeah, those are all documented in our information system by the worker.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, the experience I had while working was that often the children that I saw getting abused in foster or with their resource parents were very young, and would not be able to reach out to folks to report that. And when I did the reporting, it was often very, very delayed, or nothing happened. And so I'm wondering what the accountability end will be for like the folks at Screenwise who are not Screenwise, I'm sorry. I forgot what it's called. At the hotline taking those calls from caseworkers because
Yeah, that's a great question, Alex. There's a couple of things that have changed. One is there's actually a different definition of an allegation of abuse for a child in foster care now. The standard is actually higher. So we are more likely to assign an assessment when a child is experiencing foster care versus not. There's extra things that are considered abuse when a child's in care. And then two, I expect that professionals, our staff, as well as the teams that come with kids, therapists, teachers, resource parents, attorneys, CASAs, are in particularly protective of those little people who aren't verbal or are not as verbal. I'll never commit to you the child's not going to experience harm while they're in care, but I think we all have to continue to attune our skill sets around how we're watching out for little people, we're taking care of little people. Because I would agree with you, like a 3-year-old's not going to have access to Alexis or their attorney, they're not going to know what to say. So I think having people around them who know what to watch for and how to talk with them is the best protection we can give them. And then there's also a, sorry, Casey, real quick, a mechanism to question or loop back with the hotline now if you don't agree with their decision. You should, as a mandatory reporter, the screener should reach out to you and tell you what the screening decision is. And if you don't agree, then you can ask to speak to a supervisor and figure out what's going on. And then one more thing I'll say that's relatively new. There's a statewide mechanism now where even if a call is closed at screening, that screening report goes to the assigned caseworker, the assigned supervisor. And if that child is in foster care, it also goes to the certifier and the certifier supervisor. And there's a staffing that needs to occur. So even if someone has called and it hasn't reached the level where we're going to assess it as an abuse allegation, the team around that resource parent and child still know that happened. So they can kind of be checking in on what's going on. Sorry, Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say thank you so much for jumping in. That was all amazing information. I did want to let everybody kind of know, just so you do know, attorneys obviously have very high caseloads. We have about 110 cases, and that, sometimes it's a lot more kids when you represent kids, that maybe 5 kids, maybe in separate homes. Generally, with our caseload, ethically, we're required to see the kids in the home once every 3 months. And so we don't see them very, very often comparatively to how much ODHS or even CASA sees them. I think, CASA has a very small caseload of kids and spends a lot more quality time with them, I think. While I obviously wish we could see them more, we're limited in that. We also do ethically try to see kids within 24 hours after a change of placement. But with court schedules and things, that often is, as soon as we possibly can rather than 24 hours. Do what we can. Okay, any other final questions for Lacey? We're getting within 13 minutes in the meeting here. Okay. Well,
Thank
that
you
was
all.
amazing.
I'll plan to come back maybe biannually and report on how we're doing.
And would you mind sharing the PowerPoint?
I sure will.
That one? Okay, perfect.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
And I just checked with Rolanda, and she's going to come next time and talk about the safety initiative with PowerPoint so that everybody will have that information, and really appreciate you jumping on, Rolanda.
I actually feel very bad that I didn't have this and was very unprepared. So full apologies on my part. And yes, I will connect with you, Ellen, and we'll get this straightened out, and then I'll be prepared to present next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we only have a couple more minutes left before we transition, but I heard what Dean was saying about the retreat. Does anybody else have strong opinions about something they would like to see at the retreat? From what I've heard so far or gathered, certainly we're going to have, a team building exercise, get to know each other more. We're certainly going to have a section where we explore issues. And I'm sure we'll have an update, where we're hearing about the priorities from ODHS and the governor's office. Those are kind of what I'm hearing so far. What else would people like to see?
I think you said it already, what I was gonna say, but I want to make sure. Just is the governor's office gonna be present there?
Given 2 months' notice, I would hope that they prioritize it.
I feel like, did Rachel come? Pamela, do you remember?
Yeah, she did.
She did, okay, yeah,
She
it just
stayed for the entire
was-
day, which was great.
Yeah, so I think that's just, I like to have.
And we had
presence
April
there.
there as well.
And obviously, like, I'm all about having people with lived experience come and share their experience. So whatever that looks like, it could be a youth, it could be a resource parent, it could be a parent, obviously. I'm all for the parents. And of course, me and Jesse are a resource for that. If you need it, just let us know. And I feel like Alex said she could be a resource for Youth Voice, so maybe we utilize her, but that's just, we don't have to do that. That's just I always like to hear from people with lived experience.
Yeah, this Pamela, I agree with Alicia. Would love to. We've had, last year it was we had our bio parents come and present. I wonder if this year if we could get some foster youth, current or former, and maybe even a resource parent. It'd be very interesting to hear how things are going because a lot has changed in the last, 5 or so years. Yeah, I'd love to get a little update from those two groups.
And Matt is a resource parent, and his wife is on the Resource Parent Council, the new Resource Parent Council. So I think that's pretty cool. Maybe maybe the two of you could come together as a part.
Yeah, I'll ask her. I'm sure she'd love to come.
I'm all about paying people for their time, Ellen. Just like last year. So if we can try to do that, I know it was kind of a lot. You put in a lot of work for that, and I'm sure it'll be much easier this year. Hopefully we have the funding for that.
And you said you wanted to hear what, Alicia? That it was. Want to make sure I got that down.
Which part?
Out on my end, and I was like, you said,
She was saying she wants to hear from people with lived experience stories from either parents or youth. And then I think I heard kind of an emphasis on youth would be amazing because we had parents last year.
Right.
And then making sure there's compensation for those that we invite.
We were able to do gift cards last year. I don't know other compensation we're able to do in terms of
yeah, I mean, gift cards works.
Yeah.
Hopefully mileage. Or are we able to pay people for mileage to get there?
You do not for commissioners, but I don't think for guests.
Like if we had a youth come, they would need someone probably to pay for
I
them to
think
get there.
I'll have to look into that. Things have changed a lot as far as travel has been really difficult to figure out, and there's been a lot of changes with commissions in general and all of these there've been several trainings on it, and still it's a bit murky in some areas, but I think we'll figure out what the latest advice is or that we can use on that.
We go a little bit early. Sorry about that, guys. My phone's about to die. So have a good day.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so what I'd say is, as we start to plan this, if you have, and I see another comment here, if you have ideas, please send them directly to Ellen so that she can think about, getting the invite out. But try to make that a priority this week if you have additional ideas, so that we can get to work on it. I think we've got a good foundation for there. That sounds like kind of 5 sections, and then we can fill in the spaces. So appreciate it. At this point, we'll go ahead and move to member comments if anybody wants to take the floor for a moment about something that wasn't on the agenda or was on the agenda.
Hey, it's Alex. I was just curious. I had emailed, and I know this came up last meeting with the governor's office, if there was anything you were going to try and do or talk about or advocate for with the governor's decision to try to not go forward with preschool for all and the impact that will have on the kids in Oregon.
Is that a question for me?
Just anybody.
I think that's something that we need to put on as an agenda item as a commission so that we can have a full conversation about it and make a recommendation. Certainly we can have individual updates, but I think we need like a formal action with the commission if we want to move forward on that.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea though, Alex.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners?
I
Yeah,
have
this-
one. Oh,
Emily, you want to go first?
sure. This is kind of back to the retreat. It doesn't have to be the retreat, but I am really curious what ways other commissions and boards implement their work. So I don't know if there's a way to have a few folks representing those commissions to come and talk to us at some point, but I would just be so interested to see the variations of how other commissions and boards are doing their work. So I don't know, that doesn't have to be a retreat, but maybe a future meeting would be nice to know. It's something I've always been curious about.
Got that down.
So this is Jesse. I just want to give a shout out and let everybody know that August 31st at Salem Waterfront, there's Punks with Purpose. It's called Punks in the Park. It's all about youth and nonprofit and at-risk youth and resources for the youth. It's an all-day event and it's absolutely amazing. So if anybody's interested, August 30th, it's 11 to I believe 6. There's over 50 nonprofit vendors that'll be there and offering resources to the youth.
Thank you, Jesse. Any others? Okay.
One thing before we end, so just to reiterate, our next step will be, I'm going to send out an email today, making sure that those who weren't in attendance are good with the meeting of October 20th and aware of that. And then and then I'll be taking and reading whatever suggestions anybody has, putting those together. And then we'll set up something, Casey, for you, Malik, and I to talk about formalizing that agenda and getting people invited that need to be invited and finding out the details on how we can reimburse guests. Does that sound good? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move to public comment. Any public comment? Okay, given none, we will close this meeting at 12:57 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you.